All right, welcome everyone. We are back. Thank you so much for hanging with us, and really excited to have Chris here with the IPFS team, and he'll be sharing everything that they're working on. So I'll let you take it away.
Right on. Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be here today and to tell this story because at least for me, what's new about what's happening this year is that IPFS has graduated to the level of being ready for you to build apps on, with the same affordances and capabilities you're used to with Web 2 apps. So we've built a bunch of tools around that, and this workshop will give you a chance to use those tools as a JavaScript developer. You'll have a couple of different tracks in terms of the hands-on stuff that you can choose from. So there will be a little bit of an introduction to IPFS, but mostly assuming that you've used IPFS or at least have enough of an interest to be somewhat familiar with it. Let's see, about me, I've been doing open source database stuff for more than a decade. Worked on Apache CouchDB and Couchbase back in the day. On the team, my job is to build out developer experience, and so that's things like making sure the new APIs are consistent and building some of the tools and such that we're going to get into today. So yeah, thanks everyone again for being here. Usually I give this workshop in person, and there will be some folks from the team who are walking the room to answer questions. It's designed so that even if your laptop blows up on you the first time we do something hands-on, it should fall back into some interesting content. So don't feel alienated if you can't play along. But I do encourage you to, put this window over in the corner of your screen when we get there and run npm install and all that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. There will be some introduction. I added a little bit of introduction to IPFS. I'll mostly voice that over just for folks who aren't super familiar with it. And then we'll get into these API clients that are coming out in beta right now. And then I'll put some resources on the screen that are useful, for anyone getting started, and we can hack together. At which point I'll probably switch over to my editor and step through, how to navigate some of these example apps and do one of the hacks with you. So I think we started out running a little bit late, and I'll try to make this compressed to fit the time. I think it should be fine. But if you are in the middle of hands-on stuff when we run out of time, the conversation doesn't end here, you can join us on our Discord channel, etc.
And feel free to take your time, Chris, if you need to go over too. So the floor is yours as long as you need.
Cheers. Right on. So the interplanetary file system is it's been around for a long time. It's an open source project that allows end users it's really a protocol that allows any endpoint on the network to make data available, not by its location, but by its content address. And that's the important thing to understand. A lot of the other aspects of the APIs and stuff I'll be talking about fall out of the fact that everything is content addressed. And so what that means, if you're new to the idea, is that, and this is common outside IPFS, say you have an image file, you could take a hash of that image file, and that's going to be a fixed length representation that if anything about the image file were, the tiniest bit off by 1 bit, then you would have a different hash. And there's enough space numerically in the hash to where they don't collide. At least, it's not a problem. So you can always, when you load something by CID, fetch it from whoever gives it to you fastest and verify that hash. And that just really changes the game in terms of how the network works. And what we're doing is building tools to take advantage of that. So Another way to think about this hash-based lookup, this content identifier, is it's a little bit like having the ISBN number for a book. And that means that you can get it from any library and it's the right book, instead of like, on the web where you have to go to the author's website to get a copy of the book. And in the real world, the author's office could be far away and not always open. But we get around that in the real world by using these stable identifiers that you can fetch content from anywhere and trust it's the right content. So in the digital world, we use content identifiers, CIDs, and in terms of where it fits in the stack, IPFS is like similar to HTTP. So it's not a storage system, it's an access system. And then there's all different options for what how you're going to keep stuff stored on IPFS. Anything from running a copy of IPFS on your local laptop, where the things you interact with are going to they're going to be stored on your local hard drive and made available from there, to cloud storage providers. That's what Web3 storage is. So we will talk about that, and maybe then now is a good time for me to just switch presentations real quick, and I'll give y'all the very quick introduction history of my team, where we came from and where we're going. So IPFS has been around since about 2013. The Protocol Labs was started as a company to support it, and then when crypto happened, they realized that you could use something like a coin to incentivize data to be available on the network, and that's what Filecoin is. My team builds dev tools, and one day we woke up and the NFT community had decided that content addressing was valuable when you're doing on-chain references, because of those same properties. If you have that content address listed in your NFT metadata, then when you go fetch it over the network, it doesn't matter where you get it from. It's the right stuff, and so it helps avoid rug pulls. So yeah, that was a exponential growth story. And then from there, we built Web3 storage, which is the tools necessary to use this whole stack more broadly than just the NFT world, but for building web apps in general. And so we're taking the team and the technology, and we're spinning out into our own startup, bringing Web3 to the web. And it's going well. We're still within Protocol Labs, but we're growing fast and targeting next year to become independent. So that's the background on who we are and a little bit about IPFS. Now let's get back into the tech. So I talked about the IPFS protocol. One of the other protocols that you may be familiar with if you've been doing stuff in dApps or crypto is DIDs, which are an identifier standard that allows you to have cryptographically secure device identifiers and account identifiers that can then be used to be the signing principle for credential operations. So it's like a web standard for doing the stuff that I'm gonna go back to full screen. It's a web standard for doing the stuff that you may have relied on a crypto wallet to do. And then the third protocol that we're leveraging here is kind of new. It's got some interesting people using it. It's called UCAN, and it's authorization for the distributed world. So you may have heard about self-sovereign authorization. Really, that just means key material that the user controls. And so possession of that private key and the ability to generate signatures is what's used instead of passwords. So in this UCAN world, we leverage the credentials that are part of the DID and the web authn spec and use those to sign documents that are like essentially like the RPC layer of the serverless bazaar. Um, so I'll unpack that a little bit. UCANs can be represented. It can be serialized to JWT. So you can think about them as like a JWT, but they have some additional constraints that mean that they can be chained. And the thing that they're actually saying is like the holder of this UCAN is has the capability to write to this account or list the records in this account or whatever the fine-grained capabilities your application wants to offer. And what's neat about it, and it's kind of necessary in the cryptographic world, is that the any capability can be delegated because it's assumed that delegation is how you're going to link devices. So if I'm logged in on one phone and I want to like log in on my tablet, I might do like a QR code edge-based login and have the delegation, flow through all those credentials so that the second device can do everything the first device can do, and so on. And there's a lot of user experience that we're not the only ones doing UCAN, so there's a whole ecosystem of people doing things like identity management or compute like gateways, and Fission is one of the other startups doing UCAN, and then Blue Sky, which is one of the Twitter spin out projects, is also in the UCAN world. So these are the open source protocols that we're leaning on, and over time, as we've gotten to understand the protocols better, our actual implementation has gotten simpler. So we are launching in beta right now this W3 up API and the W3 UI components for accessing it. And these are the new APIs that leverage the UCAN style of interaction invocation. We'll be upgrading the change feeds, dynamic mutability feature to use that same UCAN capability management. And with the cryptographically signed invocations for that, we'll get things like verifiable change history kind of falling out of the protocol for free. W3 link is what we call our HTTP gateway. So IPFS, like I said, it's akin to HTTP, and that means that if you want to talk to it from a browser, you need to have a gateway that knows how to translate. So we run a super fast one that you'll run into like here in a minute. But what's cool about gateways is that like if you're using one and then it's down, you can switch to another one and the same content is there. So our gateway actually takes your request when it comes in and forwards it on to the fastest gateways that public gateways that are out there, and then whichever one responds first, we cache that response in the content delivery network, and so it's fast for the second request, and that allows us to serve content from all the IPFS network participants. So it's all really powerful stuff, but I don't know. From the background I come from, I really want to be able to bang out apps quickly and have it, have the guide rails in place so that they're easy to maintain and perform well and all that. So that's what we're going to get into in this presentation. This is a little bit talking about the future of where we're going with all this. So these UCAN invocations, because they're cryptographically verifiable and they're running on top of content addressing, you can create a bunch of new models, a bunch of new like ways to do data processing where, for instance, like repeatable compute, the second run can be memoized and cached and run instantaneously the second time. And you can do caching at the edge. You can add another layer of retrieval capability from devices running truly at the edge network, as well as working with commercial content delivery networks. And it's kind of, once you do everything with content addressing, I don't even mention on here, right? Like you don't get hotspots when you're doing the when you're doing that kind of hashing, because hashes are kind of uniformly distributed, and that means that it's trivial to scale the load across an underlying cloud provider. All right, yeah. So I see some cool questions coming in. Um, I'll answer that first one about standardization with W3C. I think there were early efforts to do that a few years ago, and I'm not sure what the status of them is. There's like definitely the brain power at Protocol Labs to work with standards bodies, and we do like plenty of standardizations and protocol efforts. I don't know exactly what the status of anything with W3C would be. Like small progresses, here and there. One of the things I worked on was a pull request to get IPFS into the curl command line tool. Um, it's not in there yet, but there's other people who are finishing it out, and I'm excited about that. So I think like it's steps along the path toward getting it into more places. IPFS is in the Brave browser, and so if you want to, see what it's like to have it integrated into your everyday experience, running Brave is a good way to do that. Question about Android native, I see in the chat. The answer is like yes, sort of. We have a React native pull request that isn't merged, I think, kind of like for CI/CD reasons. So if you're intrepid, you can get into the pull request and try out the React native stuff. And we built W3 UI. Mobile first. Just haven't pushed that stuff out because mobile's a heavier lift. So yeah, here's like the next slide is going to be where you actually can get hands on keyboard. And what we'll do is we'll just start from the CLI, and you'll be able to just get this one tool that can get data online easily. It gives you a sense for some of the moving parts that then we'll be using when we're doing the UI. So one of the things that's kind of neat about the way the uploads work is we chunk the files, we chunk your upload, whether it's one file or many, into a series of cars, which I think our chunking is at like 500 megabytes ish. That's configurable. But what's neat about it is that each of those chunks is idempotently uploaded, and if you're if you close your laptop in the middle and start it over, it will pick up, it'll try to upload the whole thing, but it'll notice that most of the work has already been done and start again in the middle. So that's a nice property. And then the other thing is that we can tell you what you're about to upload before you upload it. I mean, your computer already knows that. So we give you the CID first. That way you can verify that our system, didn't munge anything in processing. And we use UCAN delegation to make it so you get, all these different options about how the payment model will work. So for instance, you can have, if you just use the W3I components that we're about to get into, in the default way, the people using your app will end up with accounts at web3.storage, right? They'll get an email, you'll see this in a minute, that validates that who they are. And then if they get over the free plan, then we'll start emailing them about how to set up payment or whatever. But if you want to give your users a seamless experience, it's trivial for everything to run in your account, and the self-sovereign ID all works the same. It's just that when the user requests access to write to your account, you would have a Lambda or API endpoint somewhere that says, yes, that's a valid user, I'll delegate access to them. So it allows for end user pays and for app pays, and for combinations. Like you could have the end user pay for their own photo gallery, but if you're an app that's going to like run some AI transform to make a cool video for them, they might not want to pay for all that storage. And so they can grant you read access to their account. You can grant them read access to an account you create for your operation. So it can be mixed. So let's use it. This is the part that you're going to have to actually type. I'm a copy paste guy, but I can't paste this for you. So it's a npm install -g at web3-storage /w3up-cli. And that's going to install as a globally available command in your terminal the W3up tool that we're about to use. So you can go ahead and run that, and once it's installed, running this first command will generate the key material on your console. Ooh, I can paste it on chat. Oh, it's dangerous. I've got, let's see what happens. See, this is the danger. Oh, comments. I don't know if I can paste it on chat. Well, hi everybody. What I can do is maybe paste it. No, I don't have. Well, anyway, hopefully it wasn't too hard to type. I agree it could be easier. We're working on that. So this is beta still. The W3up ID is going to generate that key material, and currently it's just stored in like a local config file. So I wouldn't suggest that these are like the most securely handled keys. We're working on that. There's a key ring that we're building that will ideally work with the non-extractable key pairs from like a Touch ID or Face ID. And there'll be options to work with other key pairs as well. Or at that point we'll start integrating with more and more things like MetaMask wallets, etc. But for now, this is going to generate the keys that you'll use for the exercise. And then when you run this register, you'll get an email. What's cool about it is that this command is just going to hang waiting until you click the link in the email. And this behavior is also built into the web client. So when you go click through some of these web client UIs, you'll get like you don't have to write any code. It's just an await, and the await finishes when the user clicks the link in the email. So I'll go ahead and do this so that everyone can see what it's like. And I already have done this, actually, I think. So I'll skip to this part. Yeah, so you're going to get this kind of information. And then, yeah, W3up upload. So you should get something like that, and then you'll end up with this data CIE, which, okay. I'm getting like a handful of messages in the chat that make it seem like something went wrong. That's totally normal from my perspective. When you do one of these workshops, it's going to just happen. It can't be 100%. So we're going to go keep going. But if you figure out what went wrong or don't figure out what went wrong, continue to help with that. So what just happened when you did that upload is behind the scenes, there is the signing key. That was the ID stage. There was the register where you tell us about it and click that link in the email. And then you build these car chunks, probably only One, because unless your file was huge, and then you use the UCAN. They'll have the UCAN capability for uploading, and so you tell our upload endpoint about it, and it says, "Oh, okay, so your file has a hash of XYZ and a size of, ABC. So here's a S3 or R2 signed URL for put." And so then the uploads never touch your infrastructure. If you're having users run this in a website, they don't touch like our Lambda. They just go direct via the S3 put API, where they're indexed for availability into the peer-to-peer IPFS network, and that then makes it available for retrieval later. That's what that bit I shared here, this data CID that you get when you upload, is like how you would retrieve that. And it's worth knowing that cars have multiple blocks. The block size is closer to a megabyte. Car size is closer to 500 megabytes. So if you upload a file of any size at all, it's probably got multiple IPFS blocks in it. And each IPFS block has a data CID, has a CID associated with it. And the one that we share with you at the end of your upload is the one that you would use to retrieve that object you uploaded. So if I go to the W3S link gateway, and I don't know what that is. So let's go get this and paste it in here instead. And now that's going to start retrieving my upload. Yeah, so if you upload a directory, it's going to encode that as an IPFS directory and upload all those files. And so it can take a while. And then when you go to retrieve it, it'll give you that directory structure. You can click through and get the individual files. So yeah, this is, fetching something that should be here in a minute kind of thing. One of the big improvements we're working on currently is the read your own rights time. So any hiccups you see where you're kind of like waiting for something to come back around, that's like our biggest priority. So let's see, in terms of like time and interest, I'm going to skip this, but if you screenshot this page, here's what you want. In the simple upload directory, there's a couple of scripts that show you what you would do to like write a Node.js script that just goes and uploads something. Not sure if you would use it like instead of the CLI. You probably want to use the CLI, but if you need to write your own functionality or integrate upload into a backend process you already have, this is a great place to copy paste from. So I'm just going to skim over it for now, but like here's your chance to take a screenshot and dig back into that. So W3 UI, this is an application programming interface, building apps on on IPFS. So we've got React, React Native in like a very coming soon state, Vue, Solid, Svelte, Vanilla.js. We've got essentially a core set of functionality that is then available like across all the frameworks. So the wallet is officially now called a keyring because it works with other wallets. And so if we go over here, we'll see that here's the website, beta UI, Web3 storage that you'll be able to, just clicking in here is enough to start coding. So I'll show you, for instance, if I go to the uploader and I scroll down, here's what it looks like to run it in React. And if I pop this open, then we'll see the demo application it's going to go ahead and npm install and build it out and have it running here for me. And so you can do this with the other examples. This is a good way to get a feel for the experience. So if I click this, and then hopefully that email comes in soon. There it is, the verify email address. All right, that's redirected me home, but here we were. All right, this is doing some kind of exponential back off. I'm just gonna wait for it to finish. And so when this finishes, the UI will update to say, hey, I want to upload a file. And sometimes it could take a little minute. So, all right, while that's doing its thing, I'll show you the other platform. So let's see, in the keyring, we're also able to, go and launch these on Code Sandbox, and same with the uploads list. In the application that we're going to build, we're going to use both, both these components. We're going to take an application that starts out with the uploader, and we're going to add the uploads list. So I'll go back to the presentation and we can do that. There's a few other examples that, just to give you a sense of what you can navigate as you're getting into the platform. There is the examples that come with the framework, the official ones, and then there's other apps that we're developing, like a handful of other examples, just so you can see how other people do things with the platform. But I'll just click through this examples real quick, and you can see, right? If you wanted to, I don't know, learn solid, I might come in here and be like, how is this, different from the React one? So thanks, Darb, for pasting those links. That's super helpful. So that's the that's where you'd go to get into this code, and as we step through the exercise, that's what we'll do. So I might end up doing this the fast way, because it could take like 20-30 minutes if I work through it the slow way, but I think you would still may be able to learn from it. So basically what the hack that we're going to do is we'll go get one of these example apps and we'll import this web camera component, and then we will just make a couple little changes and make it look nice. So I'm going to show you the end result, and it's something like this, and when I take a photo, then it uploads that photo, and now there's the photo and previous photos I've taken with it, and so that's kind of what you're building toward. And then this bottom link here is a convenience for, like, how about I just let me see if I can go get that link. So if I'm going here, I'll get this is like a finished version of the app. If you go clone this, you'll be where I am at the end of the exercise. And if you go to this branch, that's where I am at the beginning of the exercise. So if that makes any sense, then yeah, you can also just go click the zip file and it'll download the beginning of the exercise state. So that's where we are now. And I can pull this into my code editor. And go ahead and npm install. This npm install part is like terrible when there's 50 people in the conference room doing it at the same time. This is way better. And then npm start. Ooh, yes. And so there's again that same experience where if I put in the my email address, it'll get me logged in, and then I can upload a file. So let's see what I can do. Kind of have an idea of not doing that. Okay, I also have this app running on another port. I think this is the download that I just did. I'm gonna switch to the repo and show you all that. So that's here, and I think I already have a login session, so we'll get to skip that bit. Yeah, y'all already saw this. Okay, but this is the latest version of it. Okay, so here is, I'm gonna take a photo, and it uploads it, and there it is. Here's a list of photos, and if I click one, I get a big version of it. Here you can see it's on that w3s.link. So to kind of maximize impact here for y'all, I'll go and look at kind of both the before and after of what the changes were to implement this. So this is the before, and it's got most of the action is in the content page. A little of it is in app.js. So in app.js, we're just like putting the providers in. If you're not familiar with React, this wrapper is just here to say when stuff happens that I care about, you can refresh whatever is inside of me, right? So like when you get logged in, refresh. And so that's what we use to power that interaction paradigm where it asks for your email address if you're not logged in yet. Okay, so back to so then the content page is what gets rendered once you're all logged in and stuff. And the content page on before we get started is just going to be a file upload. So it's going to be like where is it? Yeah, this kind of business, just a input type equal file, and then call this set file function when we select the file, and then do this when we click go, and all that's going to do is say, hey, upload or upload file. So it turns out to be pretty easy. So we're essentially replacing this with camera functionality. When we go see what that looks like when it's done, and my intent here is mostly just to help you navigate the code yourself. So these are the same two files. In app.js, the only thing we changed about it is we also added this uploads list provider so that it can refresh the page when that list of the pictures you've taken shows up. Everything else is back in the content page. And we did some stuff that's not, IPFS related. Like we got a camera, and we changed around some of the HTML render. But basically, what we're doing is when you take the photo, we're going to upload it, and then when you render it, and we can ignore this. This is like a experimental feature. But when we render it, we render the list of images with two different data sets, both rendered the same way. And one of them is the images you just took that are in memory. And the other ones are the uploads that were there at the beginning of the page. So this list is going to stay the same, right? Those are the pictures you'd already taken when you loaded the page. And then we're going to make this list longer as you go. So what does take photo do? It gets the data off the camera. It munges it to JavaScript file, which isn't pretty, but it looks like this. And then it takes that file and it uploads it, and it gets the CID just like you saw in the other one, and puts it in that list of images. And that's it for that core functionality. Here's my experimental thing we don't have to worry about. So you basically end up to do this transformation of the code. You're going to end up bringing in the camera, setting an images array, and then rendering the list of images. And hopefully that helps for folks who are familiar with React how to get into it. I'll show you this API here. It's so small we almost overlooked it. This is where the uploads list comes from. So once you're like logged in with the identity provider and all the other stuff that's happening in app.js, then the uploads list is ready to render, and you can get essentially just the set of images that are coming back from the from that query and use it to render. So that should be everything you need to get into our example apps and like turn them into other things, whether you're uploading images or GPS coordinates or database changes, etc. And let's see, I'm going to bring up this set of resources. This is again maybe a screenshot thing. This is a choose your adventure. So we just kind of did this one, the quick version of it. And that's adding the camera to the existing upload app and getting them wired up to look nice. So those links should all be able to like take you back over the stuff that we were doing before. The one that I didn't go into detail on, but is also totally awesome, is writing a script to manage some of this delegation stuff. So it would be like where the script would run is like, let's say you just had an app already. Doesn't matter what kind of app. A recipe app, and you want to add pictures to your recipes for your users, and you want to use Web3 storage to host them. So the users would, or the browser would run the same client that you saw here for uploading those images. The users wouldn't get that experience. They wouldn't see like a Web3 storage email because it's going to be transparent to them. And then instead, you would sign up for Web3 storage and you'd run a Lambda, and the Lambda would be part of your session establishment for those users. So when a user wanted to upload, they would call this Lambda to register their key pair, basically, and you would respond by sending them a delegation that says, okay, user agent, your key pair can upload to my account. And then they're able to upload directly to Web3 storage with that delegation. So the script you're building over here, the how-to is at this link, and there's a blog post on our blog that like just came out. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen. And so this intro to UCAN will tell you a lot about kind of like why you would delegate, and what some of the options are, how it works, etc. So that's worth looking at if you want to do this Node.js delegation adventure. And then you may also want to screenshot this one to see what the delegation completed challenge looked like. But yeah, again, this whole delegation thing is like not something you have to do. It's something you get to do if you want to make your user experience a little bit slicker. So thanks a ton. And yeah, join these communities if you want to keep the conversation going. We're responsive on Twitter and the Discord channel, and you can open issues on W3UI and all that. So would love to hear from you, in the days and weeks to come. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. And thanks everyone for joining us and participating in the comments. If you have questions, definitely hop into the Discord and follow up there. We'll also have the Filecoin team back tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, following up more with this. And after this, we have Polygon coming up, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, Chris.